Hello everyone, anyone available here? 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 Hello everyone, anyone available here?
Hello Yvonne,
Do you hear me well? Hello everyone, anyone available here?
hello Yvonne,
Do you hear me well? Hello everyone, anyone available here?
hello Yvonne,
Hello everyone, anyone available
hello
here?
Yvonne,
Hello everyone, anyone available
hello
here?
Yvonne,
Now it is the same.
hello Yvonne,
Hey, good morning, Bashar. Good morning, Juan Cook. Hopefully you're the same. Okay, I'm trying to fix the sound just a little bit. Hey, good morning, Bashar. Good morning, Juan Cook. Hopefully you're the same. Okay, I'm trying to fix the sound just a little bit. Hey, good morning, Bashar. Good morning, Juan Cook. Hopefully you're the same. Okay, I'm trying to fix the sound just a little bit. Hey, good morning, Bashar. Good morning, Juan Cook. Okay, right now it's good. Okay, I'm trying to fix the sound just a little bit. Hey, good morning, Bashar. Good morning, Juan Cook. Okay, right now it's good. Okay, I'm trying to fix the sound just a little bit. Hey, good morning, Bashar. Good morning, Juan Cook. Okay, The sound looks good now, or still has any issues? Do you hear me well right now? There is no sound at all? What? Okay. There is no sound at all? What? Okay. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now?
Hello?
There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now?
Hello?
There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed, just to make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, just for last confirmation, please. Is it working right now? There is no sound at all? Before we proceed. Is it working properly or not yet? Okay, just for last confirmation. working properly or not yet?
Yes, for the past couple of minutes, does not sound over or see.
Is it working properly or not yet?
Yes, for past couple of minutes, does not sound over or see.
Is it working properly or not yet?
Yes, for past couple of minutes, does not sound over or see.
Right now, it should be better right now.
Yes, for past couple of minutes, does not sound over or see.
Right now, it should be better right now.
Yes, for past couple of minutes, does not sound over or see.
Right now, it should be better right now. Okay, great. Back. Can you check it right now? Is it working well? Okay, great. Back. Can you check it right now? Is it working well? Okay, great. Back. Can you check it? So, okay, we can proceed, right? Okay, please, can you check it for just for the last time? Just confirm for me that it's working well, so we can move and start the questions. Okay, nice. That's great. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you so much for your supporting and your following. Yesterday, we have reached, or the day before, the 1,000 subscribers, and that's because of you and because of your support, because it was a very short period. I decided to make a live session every Sunday to answer all your questions. Every Sunday, we'll talk about a specific topic. Within the Sunday, we will receive questions about C#, and we will try to discuss it live online for 2 or 3 hours. So if you have any questions related to any topic, you can just post it in the comments and we can see and make a discussion about it. Okay, regarding the future of C# with Xamarin Forms, especially regarding design and UI. Actually, right now it's, as you know, Microsoft supported CSS for design with Xamarin, maybe the last year or the year before. But in November, Microsoft will release that .NET 5, so it's gonna combine everything, all the frameworks together from Xamarin Forms, make them all into one platform. No separation right now like .NET Core, .NET Framework, .NET Standard. But in general, the future of Xamarin Forms is perfect. Actually, even right now in the present, a lot of jobs about Xamarin Forms, and even in the future, it's just going to be more and more flexible. Regarding the UI, it looks like awesome actually, even now and even in the near future, because there is huge flexibility and they are adding new things every day with every update. As you can check the last time, like Xamarin Forms Shell with Xamarin Forms 4 and supporting CSS. So things going to be easier and easier within every new update. Santo Dev, okay, thank you so much for that nice feedback. Would we learn Blazor in 2020 or just keep going with JS frameworks? Actually, for the time being right now, just right now, JavaScript frameworks is better than Blazor. But after Microsoft release the final version of Blazor WebAssembly, no, it's going to be very competitive, especially if you are a .NET developer. So there is no need to go and learn JS frameworks. It's just perfect. And after Microsoft released that .NET 5 in November this year, so it's going to be perfect and ready for all sorts of applications like enterprise apps, web applications, or whatever. Also, Blazor has a very great future in mobile applications and desktop apps. If you want to build apps for Windows, iOS, Mac OS, everything. This is the main goal of Blazor actually in the future, so you can combine all the platforms together within only one application. So it deserves it. If you want to learn it, just go for it, because it will be ready very, very soon. Like, I think Microsoft should release the final version of Blazor WebAssembly in May this month, so we are just waiting for it. Okay, Xamarin is out there. I think nothing will happen for it, because even Blazor actually it's being built for mobile apps on top of Xamarin. So Xamarin is the base of Blazor for mobile apps. So Xamarin is always out there, but Blazor is just the main goal of Microsoft to unify everything from web to mobile to desktop everywhere. Actually, they did that with Windows 10 apps, UWP, Universal Windows Platform applications that actually works on laptops, on huge devices, or also works on Raspberry Pi, for example, and those embedded devices on the mobile phones, the Windows 10 device. That was awesome. It was a great experience, unified experience, one package that works for everything. But as you know, there is a lot of other platforms that has users more than Windows 10, like Android, web, and iOS, Mac OS. So Microsoft decided to make a Blazor, so you can target all those platforms together within one code base. Okay, this is the main goal of it, and let's say not too far future for it, but yeah, this is the future. Those are the steps. Microsoft is going step by step. They started with Blazor server app, then right now they will release the Blazor WebAssembly for web. After that, they will release it for desktop, depending on Electron. Then it will be available also for mobile applications on top of Xamarin. But if you are interested in Xamarin, it's always out there. And to learn a Blazor, you can target all the platforms just in one code base, which is much way better than just writing Xamarin code for iOS and Android. Yeah, I think there is no sound because I was waiting your questions, but it was good now. Basically, if we want to talk about .NET in general, the idea is not about Blazor or mobile applications. Those are just, let's say, the client side of any system. But going deeply with .NET gives you the ability to build everything from the web services or the web APIs to the business logic, contains everything within working with the database, then going back to writing code for the clients, like Xamarin Forms or Blazor or whatever. So the main idea is just to be, when you are perfect at .NET and C# in general, it's very easy for you to move from Xamarin to Blazor to Windows, WPF. Those the clients that are, they don't need that much effort, like just understanding the general idea of building applications, especially the server side, which is much more important than client side, because the main logic or the whole application actually is going in the server side. So learning that is much more important than the client. You can update the client every time. You can change it from Blazor to Xamarin to Windows 10 to Mac. Very easy within not too much effort. But in general, it's just about concentrating on .NET and C# as a programming language. This is the first step. Also, right now, I'm going to make a course. Actually, I have started with it yesterday about machine learning in .NET. We'll go deeply with it, so we can see how we can create models, train it, and evaluate, make predictions in machine learning just in C#. No need for Python or any other thing. Do you have planned to add another projects about building Blazor app? Actually, yes. Right now I have a course about machine learning, .NET. We learn about AI and machine learning within the .NET ecosystem. But after that, yes, I will make a course, a full application, server side and the client side with ASP.NET Core MVC, and the client side will be another Blazor app, yes. I have a question. How do you find controller and action method whenever with a large application? Okay, it's actually, it depends on the size of application. If the application is very, very huge, it's a very good idea to go with the microservices approach. So your application, the server application is not only one application, they are multiple apps. In this way, for example, you are working on an online store or e-commerce application, and it's very huge. In this way, there is no need to make one central web API which has all the logic. In this way, you can separate it into multiple APIs. For example, specific API only for shopping cart, specific API for customers, specific API for orders. In this way, you have multiple applications, but less code in each one, easy to handle, easy to deploy. In this way, like even when new developers come to work on your project, it's very easy to handle it because it just consists of small pieces. So this is the best approach to handle when you are having a very huge application. The difference between Blazor server app and Blazor WebAssembly. Okay, the difference is very big actually. From my perspective, Blazor server app is just a mess because actually it exists on the server, and the communication happens between the server and the client via SignalR, which is the framework Microsoft has to communicate in real time between .NET components or .NET applications. So in this way, in every time you click anything on the UI, for example, you are opening this menu, this is going to be sent to the server, then the server going to render that in the client. So it handles a lot of requests. And many times it needs a very huge internet connection to work smoothly. So maybe when you build the application, it works perfect on the client side, but when you push it to the server, it doesn't work the way you expect. While Blazor WebAssembly, I will try to explain it with whiteboard, so this is going to be better for you. So for Blazor WebAssembly server app, it works here on the server, and this is the client. So whenever you make anything, it just goes to the server to check and makes an update in that UI. So there is a lot of pressure on the server, just sends a lot of requests, especially if you have multiple clients. Everything goes to the server and come back. While in WebAssembly, actually, the idea of WebAssembly is that it's the library that created out there. This library goes to the client, exists, for example, here. This library allows C# code to run inside the browser client side. So when you run the application, you fetch the WebAssembly with other CSS files and the application DLLs, URUs, all the files you have to the client. Then when you run C#, everything is just working in the client. You just send requests to your API, but which is isolated from your application. So within a Blazor WebAssembly, you can create something called serverless application, serverless apps, because when you want to host your application, there is no need to have a server to handle your requests. You can just host your application as a normal HTML and CSS files, because when you request that website, it pulls the WebAssembly with all the DLLs and CSS files with the main HTML file called index.html, and the application runs like fully in the client side. No need for server at all, except if you have your data and so you make calls to a specific API. Hope it's clear right now for you. Okay, great. Like there is an example of a Blazor server application that's existing out there. Press Blazor. Okay. You can try this application. It's built on top of Blazor server. You can see that has lagging a lot and it's not smooth. It has a very high internet connection, so you can navigate this website properly, which is, I don't think that it's a good idea, but if you go with it on Blazor server, Blazor WebAssembly, it's just very smooth and has a high performance. Okay, just that's awesome. If you know Angular, I think it's pretty easy to go with Blazor, and but it won't take that time because all of those single page applications framework are just works the same way. They are a set of components that work on the client, and I think Angular is harder than Blazor. So if you move to Blazor, you will find things much way simpler. Like it's going to be very easy for you, especially if you know C#, which is the only thing that you need to know right now for moving to Blazor, because you know Angular, you know components, you know how the single page application works. Actually, it's the same for Blazor, but instead of TypeScript, you are using C#, and the syntax is much way easier on Blazor rather than Angular. Also in Blazor, the authentication system to implement is a little hard. You can check that in the code that I have made called the Planner app. The authentication takes time and it needs a little bit to handle. But right now, Microsoft released a new version, a preview version in Blazor WebAssembly, and the authentication system is just existing out there. So there is no need for to handle that part, which is actually, I think, the hardest part. Other than that, everything's simple. You mean adding a Blazor component to ASP.NET Core application, MVC? This is what do you mean? Okay, I think I got your idea. There is something like this in Blazor. Basically, you cannot, in Blazor or any other SPA framework, manipulate the DOM the same way you do in normal websites using JavaScript and jQuery. But for Blazor, there is something called templated components and parameters. I'm going to show it for you here. Like if we go and create a new Blazor WebAssembly app, this one, click new project, create. So here, for example, if you create a component, create a folder called components. Then inside it, I'm going to add a new Blazor component, call it table content, table component, as an example. So that's something like this. But regarding the body, for example, you want to pass that as a parameter. This is what you mean, right? So you want to pass HTML from outside the component to this component. And basically you can just do this using the parameter of type public render fragment. We'll call it child content. And you can here just render that this way, for example, add child content. So in this way, we call this a templated component. I made a video about it for creating a model pop-up. You can check it. I went in details with this. This way you can pass HTML to the components. For example, if you called it here like table component, then here you can pass HTML. TD add, for example. So in this way you can pass HTML to the components. Hopefully that was clear. Okay, thank you. Now we go back to the question about managing status in Blazor, the state of application. Actually, here you don't use RxJS, but you can use, for example, state has changed, and also Blazor itself handles everything for you. For example, came here and want to create, for example, the create a div, that's row, then here make a list, code, string, names, list of string, protected, override uninitialized. Okay, we'll add a few names, that list. Okay, we can here iterate over this using for each names to. So in this way we can print the items, and I will create a button over here. So on a click, lambda expression is a method, or you can write an explicit method out there. Let's make it a method, which is here, add item, insert item, void add item, names, added item. Now, as you can see, Blazor will handle the state of this component every time we add anything to the names. Sorry. Make Blazor app. So as you can see here right now, the component just checking all the changes that's going on within this list. So every time I add a new one, as you can see, the item being added to the list, and the component or Blazor re-render that component to show that items on the UI. So handling state is also powerful in Blazor, but it's not the same way, the same concept you do in Angular. Actually, I'm not good at Angular. I don't know how you handle that, but this is how you can do it in Blazor. It's just existing out there. You can go into problem, especially when you are dealing with transforming data from multiple components. In this way, managing that state becomes a little bit harder. So you just need to call something called state has changed. For example, if I want to pass a value from this component to this component, okay, in this way I don't think that Blazor will re-render this component automatically. It should be notified that about that change. So to do so, show you how we can do this. I will create a class, call it state manager, for example. Put here a static field, menu item equals to menu item in this way. Just a very basic static field. If I go to third nav menu, new one. This one is going to be apt state manager dot menu item, and here when I click this button, I want to change that state manager dot menu item equals to edited value. Let's run and check this. Yeah, actually, handling that is, I'll come back to it, just a moment. Sorry, there is. Okay. As you can see here, we have a menu item. Now let's try to change it from another component. As you can see, the value doesn't change, but if I try to move within this component, when it re-renders, so the value is being edited. This way, if you want to notify the other components about that change, you can just call a function called state has changed. So in this way, you can notify all the components about there is a specific change in another component, or also in the same component. Sometimes you receive data from signal R, like getting real-time data from the server to your client. In this way, the client doesn't know about this directly, the component, so you have to call the state has changed to re-render the components. In this way, you get your data updated. This is about managing the state. Now, if we go back to loading content from an API, there are ways to show a loading status without covering the entire HTML code block using an if-else block. That's how I do it right now. But okay, of course, there is a lot of way to do it. At the end, you are having a Boolean field, so you can manage it the way you want. For example, you can create a little spanner. We can do it right now exactly. Instead of covering HTML, we can do something else. For example, CSS spanners. Okay, let's take one of those progress. For example, I will take this one. Okay, let's copy it. Then I will go to the www root CSS site. At the end, spanner, copy that code. Okay, save it, and I will create component, call it loading progress. Okay, dev task loading dev, let's call it like that. Then add loader here, just like this. You can go to the loading dev, add some CSS for it. Here. Okay, the spanner called loader, create task for loading dev, make it position, text width 100%, high 100%, top 0, left 0, background color from GPA, okay, 0, 0. Add a little opacity here. Okay. Loading dev. For the loader, here it is. Okay, now for this component, we can create a parameter called is loading get set. Also here, we can create hide display none dot show display block, and here we can create CSS class if is loading, so the class called show, otherwise it's called hide, and here you can add it CSS class. Okay, let's add that to index component. We'll add loading progress and bad is loading equals true. Now let's see how it works. So right now it works. Let's make this one walls for it. As you can see, there is no spanner right now. So this is one of the ways you can do showing a spanner instead of covering the entire HTML, as you have said, putting an if else within the if show loading, otherwise show the data. You can just make a spanner like that and it works. Okay, would you please tell us about Blazor material design? Okay, of course. Material design or other component that actually available right now for Blazor, basically it's not too rich. You cannot find great components the same way you can find for React.js because it's just a new framework. But Blazor, not Blazor. Okay, this one. It's very easy to install. Just install the package matblazor and add the CSS and the GS files related for it in the index.html, and it works. Actually, it has a lot of controls like checklist, sidebar, file upload, etc. From my own perspective, I don't like this design in general, material design, either in Blazor or any other place. But if we talk in general about components for Blazor, right now you can find there is Radzen. I have used it in the Planner app, and also this one. It's very, very nice. You can use it for Blazor WebAssembly and Blazor Server. It has very rich UI controls for everything you need, and it's totally free, not paid. As you can see, very advanced data grid. You go this is also a complicated data grid that actually serves a lot of issues within your applications. You have charts, advanced charts, as you can see. Till the moment, I think this one is the best UI component for Blazor that's existing. Also, you have the ability to change the theme, dark mode, light. It has a lot of nice features, which from my own perspective is better than Matte Blazor. Again, I will post the URL of this component comments. Want to use it directly. Okay, please make a video on multi-factor authentication using identity with web API. Yeah, of course. I will try to make one and add it for the securing web API playlist that I've already done before. It's not a very huge issue actually, but yeah, we can make a video about it very soon. Okay, F#, I don't know too much about it, but I think it's just a functional programming language, which is a little bit different from C#. But regarding Visual Basic, actually Visual Basic you can say somehow for Microsoft, I think it is expired, but there is a lot of application that has been written with Visual Basic, so they cannot remove it from their system and just depend on C# because there is a lot of Visual Basic developers out there, and there is a lot of already built applications and the huge applications enterprises built within Visual Basic. So right now it's in Visual Studio and it will still out there for a long time, but it won't take that support for like the same way C# get, because they want developers to go for C#. In this way, it's easier for Microsoft to handle one language instead of multiple languages, and in the support of all things, so it can push all the developers to just modern language and unified, which is, I think, if Microsoft had the ability to remove Visual Basic, they will do, but they cannot because of the million of lines of code that existing out there. But regarding F#, I think it's still modern, but I haven't used it before. I think it's using for data science or whatever, but I don't know actually too much about it, and I haven't tried it before. Have you used F# before within any sort of apps? No, actually, async, it's not about handling multiple requests from the user. This is not the job of it. Async actually just tell the method to run in an asynchronous way. For example, not take all the code that's existing within this method and just go for it at all at once. For example, just line by line. When you add async and the wait, when you know that there is a set of code or this is a function that's going to take time, so you cannot move over this to the next line till this function is going to be done. So you are depending on this result. For example, when you are calling a web API to fetch data from the client side, not from the server side, we use async and await to run this method in a synchronous way. In this way, for example, you are waiting for a list of data to show it within in the UI. So you send that request and you mark this function as async because you will prepare everything like creating the HTTP client or whatever. Then when you send this request, you put await, for example, client.get data async. So in this way, you tell the C# when you read this code, stop, and then go for another thread, let other apps use this thread, till we get the result back from the server. When the result comes back, then okay, you can move to the rest of lines that are remaining. It's not about handling multiple requests, it's just about handling the code inside a method in a specific way, which is asynchronous, line by line, and there is a line that takes time, so wait for it till the result comes back, then move to other line. This is the general idea of async and await. Yeah, C# is great right now, and it's going to be greater after .NET 5 release in November. Microsoft is working hardly on increasing the performance of C#. It's going to be very, very fast, somehow like C++, which is something awesome because they are working on writing the compiler from scratch, which is just perfect. And day after day, a lot of new developers come to the .NET world because you can find everything out there, from building web applications, web APIs, mobile applications, Windows, games within Unity, and machine learning right now, which is something very, very interesting. But I have a little question for you guys. How you have started with C# at the beginning? Have you studied it in university or from books, from specific courses? How you have get started with that? Yeah, that's a great fine. Okay, can you please give me more details about the application, like what it is, ASP.NET Core, and what the nature of the application, just in general, so we can know how. Okay, can we use RDL report in Blazor? What is RDL exactly, please? I check it first. Okay, actually related to RDL reports, basically, I don't know about it. I haven't used it before, so I cannot answer this question. Sorry for that. But for reporting, I will try to make a video about it in the Blazor topics playlist. So you can see how I see we can handle it, but I will take a look about RDL and see what we can do with that. Okay, regarding Xamarin with Flutter and React, basically, I think yes, right now Flutter and React are more common, but I don't know till the moment what is the reaction of Microsoft for this. But I think the reaction will be for a long term via Blazor, which will, yes, maybe 1-2 years, a little long time, but making a unified platform will make all the developers goes for Microsoft. But at the end, even with they are in front of Xamarin on Stack Overflow trends, Xamarin is still common in the market, and many companies use it because also if it comes to business applications for mobile, it's just awesome. Last year, at the end of 2019, we have built an enterprise application with Xamarin that based on barcode scanning and something like this to work in Terminal, which is an enterprise application. Using Xamarin was priority and it was very simple, easy, so it still required whatever Flutter and React does right now in the market. Xamarin is still Xamarin, and there is a huge .NET developer community out there that prefer Xamarin for other stuff. Yeah, sure. I'm from Syria, but currently living in Lebanon. Yeah, from the Middle East area, you can say. And you, from where you are following? Thank you so much. Me too, guys. And you, from where you are from? Ah, cool. Hey, welcome. Sorry to hear that about losing your job, but hopefully the life will go back to normal very, very soon and everything comes back to normal. Actually, this has happened here in Lebanon, but stopped. But right now, the things are going to be fine again. So hopefully, you'll get your job back very, very soon. Can Blazor upload file without refreshing the page like Ajax? Yeah, of course, you can upload files to the API without also refreshing the file. I have made a video about this. If you didn't check that before, sorry. Here is the link for the video that you can see how we can upload file in Blazor WebAssembly from to ASP.NET Core Web API. Very easy with all the details. Hey, hello Bashar, welcome. That's great. Hello Nama, how are you? Okay, great. So this video is exactly for you. You can see how you can upload file or even multiple files. It's a pretty easy step. So, okay, guys, in general, thank you so much for watching and following AK Academy from the beginning and for joining also in this session. I will try to be with you every Sunday. I will do my best. So every Sunday in the morning, make 1-2 hours or maybe 3. It depends on the session and the interaction. Thank you so much. Hopefully next time I'll be well prepared, better than this time regarding the technical issues we had at the beginning of this session. Again, thank you so much for watching and following AK Academy. Thank you again and see you in the upcoming videos, which is today the new course about machine learning in .NET. So thank you so much for watching.